Hey everybody, I'm Dorothy, the creator of the Tarot of Asterisms and the Dark Rose Divination, both in the Deckable and the Victorian Tarot is to come. We're going to do the week ahead forecast using the Dark Rose this week. I don't know what I did there. We'll make them manageable as we go. There's 78 cards here, so plenty of choices for a forecast. That's nothing traditional about this deck. And anybody laughing at my accent when I say that word, you're immature, like my friend Rita. She always laughs when I say that. That's the Canadian approach. This week ahead is going to be a bit challenging because we've got bipolar out first. It suggests people changing their minds. It's not necessarily a whole pile of rescheduling like we had last week, but more just mind changing. So we're still in that energy of requiring some flexibility. It is more of an on flow from last week. So because last week was the initiating energy, some of that's going to flow into this week naturally. But also, if you have conversations with people or agreements with others, or your supervisor, team leader, or you yourself as a manager into changing your mind on occasion, be mindful of the effect that has on other people that are required to make adjustments to fit that. So to simply change your mind in an agreement that you've had or a conversation that you've had maybe 3 months ago, maybe a week ago, or maybe a few hours ago, there's nothing wrong with that if there's a requirement to do it or an adjustment needs to be made. But there is something wrong to expect everybody else, after you've given something a bit of thought, to suddenly just turn the bus around and become, totally compliant and like putty in your hands. I think it's really important, if you are changeable, give them the time to process that you may yourself have already had. Also, with fast changes, fast thinking, quick changes, sometimes, like it or not, you probably should give the reasons for the changes to others so that they aren't feeling devalued by being taken out of the equation. It can be used in relationships, this energy, by the way, to present a fait accompli to a partner and say, well, now you've just got to toe the line, or you've just got to join in, or you've just got to be a part of that. That will lead to a lack of trust, whether you like it or not. That's exactly what happens. They have every right, if they're in a partnership, to take their time to assess, to think about what these changes might mean. Because it's bipolar, a change could follow another change. So we need to be ready for that in the work environment. It could be that a client's requirements change. Those kind of things are what you're looking for. The second card here is Elixir. I love this card. It's got nothing to do with bipolar. But Elixir is a card of finding solutions and cures to problems. So that could be physical health if that is part of what you've got going on. But if it isn't, this is where troubleshooting comes into play. Here's your problem and here's your remedy. And this is really what Elixir is. It's a remedy, it's a curative. In the background, I've actually listed ingredients, not personally listed, but these were on a label in an 1800s apothecary type curative is what it was called. And so you're looking for things that could go either way sometimes. That is, the cure sometimes is not much more fun than the problem itself. So it's like if there's too much money spent, the tightening of the belt becomes the cure, right? And so nobody enjoys that, and that's why we've got belladonna here. It's a fascinating little plant, that one, because it can be used to kill or cure, but it's about the right doses, it's about the right recipe, it's about the right practices. And when you put those together with bipolar, it could be a little bit of a problem. A person might think, I'm going to do this. Weight loss is a good example for this. I'm going to go on this diet, I'm going to do that, and then 3 weeks later or a month later, I haven't got the results I wanted fast enough, so I'm going to quit all of it. And so the mind changes, or switching from one diet to another, or one medication to another, or one practice to another. And switching around often leaves you at the start line. Something to really think about there. If you're left at the start line, it's because there is no continuity. Then we've got the word complicated, or the card complicated. You get to decide, even regardless of what I say, whether you're at the top, the ship at the top here, or whether you're the person at the bottom. The person at the bottom is salvaging everything that they can, or they can be carrying a weight that they should just let go of and let it sink to the bottom like the ship. The ship is kind of resting peacefully, so it could be an indication that things can't actually get worse this week. That doesn't mean it's horrible, by the way. You could have a breakdown in relations with a person, but it's a fairly calm, relaxed kind of breakdown. Doesn't mean that life's going to hell in a basket. But when we complicate things, sometimes that's in our mind as opposed to what's really going on out in the real world. I will When we're looking at the word complicated, and you've got an option here to look at the top or look at the bottom, as I mentioned before, and take that into your own mind as to where you are. When we're looking at the ship, it's resting on the bottom, and while we could say things aren't going to get any worse, what we mean is it's where it's at. It's the reality of the situation, and it's not that it's so bad, it's more that you need to deal with it from here as opposed to what you might have thought. And at the bottom there, we've got this person carrying a heavy weight, and she's either salvaging, as mentioned, or needs to divest. When we look at the complicated with the curative, we make things complicated in our own minds. Sometimes the solution is easy, we just don't want that solution. And as such, if we're bipolar in our minds, if we keep changing our mind, we may not have that continuity of thought from here's the problem, this is what I need to do about it, and this is what I'm going to do about it. So that's those three cards in play. Because bipolar is an issue of mind changing, switching things up, then you can find yourself back at the start line as often as not, simply because when you keep switching the goalposts yourself or with others, it's frustrating for others, so it can cause its own problems. And at the same time, it distracts you from looking at the curative, from looking at the solution, from troubleshooting, and taking the very next step towards what it is that you need to do, think, say, or be to create that solution. I'm Dorothy. Ciao for now.